not an expert in any way, shape, or form in big data or small data. I've spent the majority of my career really thinking about humanity and people, and why do we feel how we feel, and really how are we feeling. And what I wanted to walk through with you guys today is 2 quick examples about that, because I think it's at the core of why we can't seem to fix healthcare. And then I'm going to throw out a challenge to you, a double dog dare, because I think no conference is fun unless you have a double dog dare. So I'm going to do that. So I want to start with my first example is what I would classify as your Facebook self versus your Google self. And we're talking about this a little bit so far. Jamie brought this up. And your Facebook self is that part of you that you express to the world. It's who we pretend we are, right, through social media or whatever version of this you would call. And this is an example. I just got these pictures off people who are in my Facebook feed. To me, I look at this and it stresses me out. Like, I have no idea who's ever had a baby, ever, and looked like that early on. And ever. I've never looked like that. And my babies are now very old. And the other thing I would add quickly about this picture is the best comment I ever got about it was somebody said, that's because that's not her baby and that's not his wife. Right? So, and that actually makes a lot of sense to me. And this woman, like, the toddler's so happy and she's so happy, and where's the spit up? And this couple right here, which, you know, look at how she's looking at him. She loves him and he's so dashing and everything is so great. And then my favorite example is this one, because they're on vacation, they're on holiday, they're obviously very in love. They have plenty of cash. They probably had sex already this morning. They're about to have sex again, right? Like, everything is just awesome in their world. And I want to compare that to what I would call our Google self. And this is an exercise that each of you can do, which is go to Google at any point in time and just start typing in the following sentences, the following searches. Just start to look for, is my boyfriend or is my husband? All you have to type in is my BO for boyfriend or HU for husband. And Google will auto-populate the top 10 most popular questions. So let's contrast that with, like, everything is awesome, and now what you're really thinking at 2 o'clock in the morning as you're looking at your phone, as I did last night, is my boyfriend gay, cheating, a narcissist, using me, autistic, controlling, bipolar, a sociopath. So that's actually what we're thinking about. Is my girlfriend, in case you guys are thinking, wow, freaky women, actually you're thinking, is my girlfriend cheating on me on Netflix? I don't know what that means. Crazy, pregnant, gay, cheating, a virgin, a narcissist, using me. And this next one I think these are sad, but this next one really makes me very sad, which is if you just start typing in, am I? Am I depressed? Am I bipolar? Am I pretty? Am I gay? Am I autistic? Am I wrong? Right? So just my first thing I really want to share with us today, and I hope this helps to frame how we talk about stuff, is how we think about our Facebook self versus our Google self. And anyone in the room who's responsible for designing programs and tools and platforms and solutions, who are you designing for? Please be designing for people's Google self. The next thing I want to talk about is the unmentionable. And this is, I joked about it earlier, sex, drugs, and a crappy boss. But this is something that I worked on for 15 years while I was at my company, Eliza. And over the course of those 15 years, we did close to 1 billion interactions with real people out in the wild about their health. And what we learned over time is the thing that they were talking about as their health didn't have much overlap with what we were talking about as their health from a more traditional clinical perspective. And what do I mean by that? Specifically, that health, if you really listen to what people are talking about, is life. And we need to expand the definition of health to include life, because when life goes wrong, health goes wrong. And there's a framework that was used to describe this back in 1943, which many of you are probably familiar with, called Maslow's hierarchy. And I want to apply Maslow's hierarchy to the healthcare situation. If you think about it in the context of what many of us in this room are probably experiencing as real life, which is if your mother with Alzheimer's just moved in, if you hate your boss so much you can't breathe, and if increasingly the only answer that you can find is at the bottom of a bottle, are you really prioritizing your heart health? Are you really thinking about your diabetes? Of course you're not. And Maslow's hierarchy applied to healthcare, I would argue, we're asking people to live, operate at the top of their game, right? Hang around up here with complete self-actualization. Eating well, 7+ hours of sleep a night, blood pressure under control, low cholesterol, up to date on preventive screenings, regular checkups, exercising 30 minutes a day, and you're definitely not drinking a lot. We work in the healthcare space. Raise your hand if you can check all those boxes. I can't by a long shot. I fail on almost all of them. And I work in healthcare. I've dedicated my life to this. For most of us, where we live is here. Sex, drugs, and a crappy boss. and money, and caregiving, and sleeplessness, and a troubled marriage, and those Google self-searches that we were just looking at. And for far too many people, the basics aren't even shored up. Safety, food, clothing, heat, electricity, medical care. So after we design products, tools, solutions for who we really are, or Google self, we then have to start thinking about what aspects of our health are we trying to influence within that framework. And this is what nowadays we call the social determinants of health. So my challenge to you guys is around the concept of immersion. And I would really say immersion is an imperative. And what do I mean when I talk about immersion? So about 2 years ago, summer 2 years ago, I was working on a startup called Archangels, and everything we were doing was wrong. It just was not working at all. We were trying to solve those problems that I was just talking to you about and failing over and over and over again. And I don't know how many of you guys remember what was going on 2 years ago. This was going on 2 years ago. And I was finding that I was having an existential crisis because I was feeling, I won't say with which side I was agreeing, but I was really disagreeing with one side. So much so that I was feeling enormous animosity and actually dislike. And I thought to myself, wow, that's not you, Alex. That's not appropriate. You believe in liking people and being open. Like, why don't you try and find empathy with this population? And I couldn't. I literally could not find any empathy. I just didn't like them, and I couldn't figure out how to like them. And so I realized that is because I live in a bubble. I don't have any exposure to these folks who have different perspectives than I do. None. And so I decided that I was going to go work at Walmart. And I got a job as a cashier, working 20 hours a week. I worked 20 hours a week for 8 months at store 2660 in North Reading, Massachusetts. And I have been there since. I still work 5 hours a week because it keeps me honest and it keeps me connected. And the observation that I had over time, the most fascinating aspect to me of this experience, was how quickly I went from feeling, because I can tell you those first couple days were terrifying. Like, I thought I was afraid of my boss at work, like my board at my startup, Eliza, when I had 200 people. I was more terrified of my 22-year-old boss as he told me to go sort batteries and sort them again because I hadn't done it well, than I was of my boss of however many, my board of however many years. And so the observation that I realized very, very quickly is how quickly I transitioned from thinking about this population with whom I was working and who I was serving, like, who are these people? Who are they? To, these are my people. These are my people. How quickly it transitioned from being an us versus them to a we. And how quickly, it wasn't that I was thinking about big data. It wasn't even thinking that I was about little data. It was about stories. And how many stories I could tell you very, very quickly. Story after 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 story. Real stories about these people whose lives I was now part of. And the problems that I was trying to solve, we were now in together. And I had a very different perspective of what their reality was in trying to serve them. And what I would call that is immersion. And so what I would challenge all of us to, I'm really thinking about this as an imperative, is do you have to go work at Walmart 20 hours a week to get this? No. But we do have to get out of our bubble. And we do have to figure out what it is to be immersed with the people that we're trying to serve and the problems that we're trying to solve in a fundamentally different way. And I'm done. Thank you.